So, guys, today's a very special video. I'm here with my client, Mo. Mo has been through the trenches. Mo started off as a setter working with me. Then after living together, he got into growth operating, into higher leverage. I'm going to let him introduce himself and his story. We're just going to do a little interview, kind of break down kind of the things that move the needle forward for him, going from setter to growth operator, making upwards of 10K a month. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Louis. I started in sales probably about 4 years ago now, doing door-to-door sales. But after 2 years of doing that, I found Louis on Twitter one day, just some tweet, and he said he made like £5,000 with sending DMs. I was like, what on earth? So I messaged him on Instagram on my burner account, and
I'm so grateful you saw that tweet, bro. What a relationship we've had since that tweet.
yeah, I'm glad I messaged you as well. But that's pretty much what I did. I messaged you, dropped on a call. And I remember having some internal conflict on that call as well. I was like, you know what, I'm kind of scared because at that time I'd spunked all my money in crypto and I only had a few, thousand in the bank and I pretty much gave you all of it. And I had like 60 quid left and I was like, whoa, okay. And I didn't even tell you that. I didn't
Didn't
even
tell
tell
me.
you that.
I probably wouldn't. I probably would not have let you work with me if you'd have told me that. So yeah,
Yeah.
you started off as a setter, and then where did you scale to as a setter?
I went to $7,000 a month, just shy of that.
In
And
the
then I
peak.
started managing as well. So I was actually managing while I was still setting, which
Yeah,
was
but there was
fine.
lots of ups and downs, right? There was lots of ups and downs with setting. I remember we spoke like August of last year. It was very up and down, and I think a lot of setters and even closers deal with that. Like, what
Yeah.
was your experience kind of going from setting, seeing me kind of going to growth operating, and seeing kind of that gap?
Well, the main thing I quickly found out was there was a wall I hit with setting, right? Because I was working two offers, managing another one. I was working 16 hours a day. So as soon as I'd wake up, I'd hop out of bed onto my laptop. And the last thing I'd do before I slept was close my laptop. I wouldn't pretty much leave the house just to go to the gym, come home. I wanted the money, sure, I was driven, I was hungry. But the main thing I quickly understood was, clearly there's something that you're doing and other people are doing in the space that I'm not doing, right? Because I can't really seem to push past this $7,000-8,000 a month mark. And this is something most setters won't even achieve, but I did manage to achieve it. But I'm definitely capped now because I don't have more hours in the day.
Hmm.
So that's when I started speaking to you, and obviously we had that discussion about okay, what's the next step from here? And I saw what you were doing. You signed your first operating client. Obviously, you're doing closing before that. And you
Hmm.
kind of were talking to me about, closing is the same thing, right? You're capped by your time, you're capped by your hours.
Yeah, you make more
And so
money than setting, but it's the same principle, right?
I'd say I was making more money than most closers, to be honest. I
Yeah,
mean,
you were killing it. Because then you obviously I kind of referred you over to that management role, which you crossed. Like Mo, like I can't put enough credit with Mo in terms of I did coach quite a few setters, and Mo out of all of them, just the work ethic. Then we actually met each other in Spain at the end of 2025, and that's when he kind of made the transition into growth operating. Lived together in Malaga for a while. What was the biggest things maybe that you saw from me that pushed you into operating? Because I think leverage is like a huge thing, but just seeing kind of the day to day of how I operated and kind of what's involved in operating day to day.
I realized it was a game of fewer moves, but bigger impact, right? You were working objectively less, but the work you were doing made you more. And
Mm.
that kind of did piss me off, to be honest with you. I was like, damn, like, wow, like, he's doing something that I'm not doing. And I'm out here, putting pretty much donkey's hours in every day, trying to make something happen. And you were just doing, okay, this, but there was more leverage in the people you were talking to, the deals you were making, the way you structured them as well, the
Hmm.
type of people you were doing, work with. It was just at a bigger scale, and so you could charge more, and you made more. And I was like, you know
And I
what, this isn't the hardest thing in the world.
Exactly. I think a lot of people put it on a pedestal, but I think when you saw me and you saw that genuinely, I'll tell anyone, I'm not the smartest person. I've been doing business for since like September of 2024. It's now January of 2026, like 14 months. I'm not special. Like how I've scaled quickly is just by stacking skills. And like Mo said, when you get into a high leverage vehicle and you deal with better clients, naturally you can position yourself better, structure better deals. So I think that's something you've realized as well, like positioning and stacking your skills have enabled you to, you know, manage now closing teams for like huge offers, and start doing the marketing side of things as well, which is very, very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also when it comes to like even consulting, right? Over the last few months, I've learned, setter management, how to build that tracking, SOPs, systems, to systemize the whole process, to actively try and, squeeze out every bit of performance as you should be able to from a sales team. And that's something I
Mm.
realized most setter managers, even sales managers, don't really have a good understanding of. So I've been hopping on a few calls with them, or even speaking to them and consulting with them because I realized, what, there is a gap there that most even setter managers and sales managers don't even have.
Exactly. That's kind of your USP. I feel like a lot of sales reps have a huge advantage going into operating because they already know the sales stuff. They've already done that. That's not to say if you're not a sales rep, you can't crush it with operating. I think anyone can if they have the grit and the determination and willingness to learn. But it is a multifaceted skill set. The more skills you have, the better. So now more like you can build funnels, you can do all of that stuff, and that's more value for your clients. But if your unique selling point about you is that you have an extensive sales background and you can lever that, like use that as your kind of first entry point when working with a business, like you did for. So Mo has a client, Elastaboy has 1.8 million followers, where he started off just set and managing, and now is doing all the sales management and some of the marketing too, and has taken a much higher rev share and a base, which is pretty crazy compared to what he was doing before, alongside like a couple of other smaller clients. So that's how much you on for January?
I guess we'll count off, but it should be just over 10.
Just over 10K. So,
Yeah.
and to be honest, like you hit 7K with setting. So I'm not here to say like growth operating is immediately going to make you 30, 40K a month. It will eventually. Like I'm sure Mo is very confident in the fact that he's going to hit that this year. And I don't have a single doubt in my mind that it's going to happen. But how does the 7, 6, 7K a month that you made as a setter differ from the 10K a month you're making now in terms of the hours you're working and kind of what you're doing?
When I was making, like I said, I was working 16-hour days. Right? I was just
Crazy.
at my laptop, bam, bam, bam. But now that I have, a team under me who I've trained up and I can just provide feedback for and I, structure it so that my calendar is much more easier for me to manage,
Hmm.
one-to-one calls, whatever. I get the most out of the time I put into my team, right? And that allows me time. So like I've started to make content as well. I've started to, push outbound. I can start to scale acquisition more, which
Exactly.
is something, most people really, they get bogged down by the day-to-day. Even myself, I was getting bogged down at a point. We're like the day-to-day of management, right? But after, speaking to Louis, for example, I realized that
Systemizing.
systemizing, taking a step
Mhm.
back, and focusing on what actually moves the needle forward is the way to go.
100%. It's all about what tasks are actually going to move you forward as a business owner, not as a freelancer. Because I think Mo, you're finally in kind of that transitionary period of going from more of a freelancer as a setter or as a closer, where all you can think about is like, how am I going to make this commission? You're not in control. You're really just not in control. Now you're at the point, Mo, where your clients need you a lot more than you need them, in a sense, because you have multiple clients. Without you, they would like their businesses would really slow down, and so that now you
Yeah.
can come into other businesses with a position of I have these case studies, and just like have way more leverage and get bigger rev shares and scale. So yeah, what is the plan for scaling? What are the things you're putting into place now to be able to hit those 20, 30K months? Because I think that's something we've been speaking about a lot.
Yeah, we have been speaking about. I think the main thing, I sat down obviously at the end of last year. We met in Dublin as well. We went to Dublin, we had a good chat. We met other, people in the info
Hmm.
space, some doing, 50, 60, 70K a month plus, well over that as well. And the main thing I realized was, I'm just playing the game a bit too small, right?
Exactly.
So I just need to start playing, making bigger moves. And the direction behind that would just be pushing content, focusing on outbound, but also just, really dialing acquisition. I
Hmm.
think signing, 1 to 2 bigger clients with a higher rev share, which
Hmm.
allows me to earn more whilst making them more rather than,
Exactly.
staying, because I do have some management clients I work with, but of course,
Hmm.
like that isn't really going to scale me up to, 10, 20,
But
30K a month.
exactly. But the thing is now, like compared to like maybe 3 or 4 months ago before we kind of really pushed you forward, I think you're in the position where you didn't have either the time, the brain power, or even like the knowledge of like, okay, if I actually go ahead and pitch, if I'm on a call with a creator and I want to sign them as a client, like I don't even know what I can do for them more than my current skill set. So I think expanding your skill set has been a huge thing as well, not only in terms of management, but also in terms of other stuff that you can now offer and that you're now doing across like a few clients.
100%. And the more I know and learn, the more confident I feel in actually delivering for my clients and
Exactly.
even, demanding a higher percentage or a base or whatever it might be, so that I can leverage my existing relationships to make me more money rather than focusing on, new clients, which is pretty much what I've been doing, right? I've just been focusing on the same clients I have, maybe one or two new ones, but really focusing on providing, more to them
Hmm.
so I can get more cash
Exactly.
out.
And now you can like in terms of like your day to day you have more freedom in terms of what you want to do, and whether you like want to hit 10K a month and get comfortable and kind of use that freedom to just live and travel and do that, but you also have the freedom and the time freedom to be able to double down on scaling. And so that was a huge thing for me of getting out of that one client syndrome where I just had one client and I was just doing everything for them, to delegating, to systemizing, to getting the SOPs in place. And I think that's something so many people struggle with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a system, system essentially just replicating them, being able to replicate the same systems and plug and play.
Yeah.
That's pretty much when I realized, okay, I can actually like with my management clients, I do take on, some of them now, like the recent one I took on. I realized like this didn't really require much of my time to be put in because I had all the SOPs created, I had all the systems in place, the tracking, the
but
data.
you but you can't do that as a seller or a closer because it's your time that you're giving. So as an operator, even as like a scaling some sort of sales management agency, which you can do as an operator, but why not just do everything as a marketer or partner with a marketer? But I think as a setter or closer, it's just not possible, right? It's just you're trading time for money. Do you have any advice? Because I know I speak about it a lot. Do you have any advice for setters or closers, or maybe even like copywriters who are kind of working individually for clients, in terms of if operating is right for them, or any advice for them in terms of scaling their income?
One thing I did from the start when I was working with my very, very first client, and very much at that time they had like what less than 1,000 followers, and I took them from 0 to 20K a month. One thing I realized was I started to learn more about what was going on with the business as a whole. Right? We'd have discussions with the team about ads, the VSL, the scripting, the ROAS, the daily ad spend, all of that. So I understood the whole business, or started to understand the whole business from the very start. And what
Hmm.
that meant was when it came down to the next offer I worked on, the next offer, all the operators and the people running the essential the marketing side, they were very happy to have those conversations with me because they could tell I was meant for more than setting. On the
Hmm.
second offer I worked with, for example, me and the growth operator would have very, very long conversations. Sometimes he'd call me, like we'd have conversations for an hour or two, and
You
he'd
knew
just
that it
give me,
was the path, right?
yeah. And they knew I was meant for more as well.
I think a lot of setters like there are some. I think there are some sales reps who are just not made for it. To be completely honest, like if you got into setting or closing just to make some money and travel and sit by the beach, then it's probably like it's a great route for you. But if you actually want to build a business, you have bigger goals. Like Mo, I know you have like enormous goals. So do I. I think it's like the only option. Like all these route back to info, and if you have every skill set that you need to scale an info product from scratch, you'll never really be broke again. You'll always have, you'll always be able to even scale your own offer, with the skill set that you have. So yeah, any like advice to those people like setters and closers who want to get into operating and maybe see it as some really difficult thing, or are not sure about their next step, or are a bit comfortable?
I think you just have to be very honest with yourself. Otherwise, you'll
Mm.
hold yourself back for making the moves and the success you can achieve. Because ultimately, if this was the case for me, is I got stagnant for a while
Yeah,
and I knew I could do more. It was just becoming familiar with the unfamiliar was something mentally was a bit. I was
you
like, I
don't know
got
what you
in my
don't
own.
know. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And when I realized after speaking to Louis and actually living with him, was that it's not really that difficult. Sure, it requires additional skills to be learned, but you only learn them by doing. And once you do them, you realize, oh my God, this was something pretty much I got in my own head about, and it
Exactly.
isn't too hard.
And I think I think a lot of people struggle with, a lot of people tell me, they say, yeah, I'm gonna learn how to, run this funnel, run ads, or run a webinar, whatever it is, or manage a sales team, or like get good results for my clients once I've landed a client. But what you don't realize is that your confidence and your ability to sell yourself and your services very much come from what you already know. Because no client is going to work with you if you seem unsure, you don't actually know what you're going to offer them, you have no case studies, you have no examples. So I think that's a huge thing as well, where now I think the confidence has changed in terms of you can go into like any deal knowing that you can really do a fucking good job compared to it. I mean, a year ago, you didn't even know what info was or like the high ticket sales space was. So, and neither did
That,
I,
that
to be honest.
that's I did know actually. I did know, but I didn't take action on it. I did
Yeah.
know because I saw money Twitter, right? I always saw money Twitter. I saw these kids making 20, 30, 40K. But then I was like, you know what, 20, 30, 40K, that doesn't really seem like the easiest way to start with. So hence why I started with setting. I'm glad I did because it gave me a good foundation
Hmm.
to build from, because it seemed more realistic. And obviously I started there, but don't stay there, right? It's just a starting point at the end of the day.
100%.
Start there, learn all you can from your setter managers, sales managers, your offer, the systems on your offer. Use those to leverage into bigger opportunities. But don't
Exactly.
stay setting low leverage for your entire sales journey.
It is, I mean, like, yeah, I couldn't put it better myself. Like, can you picture yourself realistically for the next 10 years doing setting or doing closing for like 10? It is literally like a 9 to 5, and probably even worse in the sense that, like, okay, you have more freedom, but like the skill set of sending texts, yes, sales is like, as an SDR, you're probably doing a lot more. You develop a good skill set speaking to people, but can you really see yourself doing that for 5 or 10 years? Or do you actually want to become a business owner and use sales as a stepping stone, where you already have a lot of knowledge and can apply it in a highly leveraged vehicle, even as a sales management like agency? I think is like a way better step to go. But yeah, Mo,
100%.
you are a fucking killer, bro. I'm so happy you saw my tweet. I'm so happy you took the plunge. And I think, man, it does takes balls to invest in the setting coaching mentorship and then reinvest into, like growth operating licensing program of mine, especially at the start when you have £64 in your bank. So I know that you're going to go on to crazy things, 20, 30K months very soon. Me and Mo are going to link up. If you're a client of mine and you're chill like Mo, obviously we can link up. Mo, do you have any last words of anyone, of just like maybe a reflection of me? Because I'm kind of like the only direct maybe mentor you've had in the space for like the past 10 months or so, or anyone considering working with me. Any final words you want to leave them with?
So I started in high ticket info like 10 months ago, which is crazy, right? 10 months ago. And having someone like yourself who not only talks the talk but walks the walk, in the sense that some people, right, they have mentors, and I would say you're more of my friend now than a mentor, but
Of course, bro.
yeah, but having someone who they look up to and who mentors them essentially, but they don't really walk the walk, right? They give you a big talk and they hop on and realize, you know what, this person I've just paid, 5, 10K, 15K to, and but they aren't even living by what they preach. But with yourself, right, I've seen you from the start, is you've always pursued bigger and bigger goals, right? You didn't let anything really hold you back from taking that next step, right? And seeing yourself overcome your personal, maybe mental limiting beliefs, whatever else, and break
Yeah,
past to the next level, to the next level. I just made me realize, like, you're younger than me as well, which is crazy. But it's like, if you can do it, then why
exactly.
not?
Exactly. I really appreciate that. And I remember like starting out setting coaching, I was just so determined to get Mo, because of the work ethic that Mo showed. Like I couldn't really, so I think I said to him on my first call, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if my clients weren't like doing well. And so I think,
Fulfillment was above and beyond. Wow, I was like him, man. Like, it was insane. Like,
man,
literally, some other people who he mentored, he held their hand, literally held their hand to make
Mo,
them
I didn't have
money.
to do, yeah, I didn't have to do as much for Mo because he's obviously had the mindset and the work ethic. But yeah, I feel like reputation, and Mo, this is something I've told you so many times. Your reputation is everything in this kind of online money space. You only have one reputation. The space is much smaller than you think, so that's always a huge priority. Just getting results. And like Mo, we hopped on call. Yeah, I hopped on call yesterday with Mo, and I was like, let's move things forward because 10K a month is great, but like I think it's your first 10K month, but he knows that he's capable. You know that you're capable of that 20, 30K. So I'm gonna say it now. I'm gonna put it in documented video that Mo, at least by this summer, is going to be at 20, 30K a month, and we're going to record another client interview.
Inshallah, bro.
Inshallah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Mo, any last words?
Stay
Already said
hungry.
that. Stay hungry.
Stay
All
hungry,
right.
guys. Stay hungry.
Yeah, if you want to check out Mo's Instagram, his YouTube, I'll drop them links in the description. And if you want to work with me, if you're a coach for some reason watching this, you want to work with my agency or license my systems as kind of like a growth operator, you transition from setting or closing, there's a link there too. Thank you so much for watching.